For those of you who have just joined us after closed session, I'm Maria Haug, Board Vice President, and I would like to introduce my fellow trustees, Jeannie Kerr and Julio Oguin. Also joining us this evening is our student representative to the board, Ms. Sammy Rabin. I would also like to introduce our district staff, Acting Superintendent, Mr. Christopher Heller, Chief Business Official, Ms. Andy Stubbs, Director of Curriculum, Ms. Mary Allen, Executive Assistant to the Superintendent and Governing Board, Ms. Erica Madrigal. We're delighted that you're here this evening in person or viewing on Channel 27, our new YouTube channel. A copy of this board meeting will also be available on our website at www.sthelinaunified.org. In connection with closed session items A, B, and C, the board received information and provided staff with direction. Please stand with me and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So at this time, members of the public are entitled to speak on matters not on our agenda. I know that a number of you are probably speaking on matters that are on the agenda tonight. You're requested to state your name and address and keep your comments concise, brief, and limited to 3 minutes. Is there anyone who would like to speak on items not on the agenda tonight? Yes, please.
Hi, my name's Maria Terrell. I live in England. You said name and address. I have a son that attends St. Helena High School. I would like to bring the topic of vaping, the issues that are coming along with the vaping issues on campus, and how children that are not necessarily engaging or have been encountered with such situations, how the issues are being addressed to prevent children from continuing to get involved with vaping, as well as to get other students in trouble for things that they're not bringing on campus themselves. So we have students that are bringing vaping products on, tobacco products, nicotine products on campus, and letting other children take the fall for it. Hardworking students, students that are trying to get ahead academically and in life. So I'd like to know, as a community, what is being done to further the prevention of those items being brought on campus, and then introducing it to children and to the students of St. Helena High. Thank you.
Thank you. As you know, we cannot address items that are not on the agenda as a board, but we will be reporting on the Wellness Committee report that was held this past month. And I would welcome anyone in the audience to stay and listen to that report today. Any other public comment on items not on the agenda? Okay. Next, we have a presentation by the student representative of the board, Ms. Sammy Raven.
Thank you. So starting off with the primary school, I visited with Mr. Renane's second grade class, and they told me about the projects that they've been working on lately. So first off, they read about the Oregon Trail and then wrote about what they would bring with them if they also had to make the trip. And then they also told me about the informational writing pieces that they've been working on. So they got to choose a topic and then write informational pieces about that, and they got to choose from a variety of topics on whatever they would like to write about. And then the primary school also recently had Color Day on the 25th, where each grade was assigned a color, and then they wore that color to school just to show their spirit and their participation and show their pride in the St. Helena Primary School. So next, for the elementary school, the students started off the year by writing New Year's resolutions, as you can see, where they would just choose a certain topic that they wanted to work on for the rest of the year, such as kindness or focus or patience and stuff like that, just to keep in mind going into this new year. And then I also met with 4th grade students and 3rd grade students, and the 4th graders have been working on learning the rock cycle. So they've been learning a lot about volcanoes and doing really cool projects and experiments about that. And their music teacher is also pretty soon going to teach them a song about ecology and the rock cycle, just to help and aid them in learning that new material and kind of blending the science and music curriculum together. And then the 3rd graders recently did a project where they learned about how the government works, and they did a mock campaign and election of their own. So that was a really fun and engaging way for them to learn about the process and just get some experience in that early on. So then at the RLS, recently the 8th graders went on their field trip to the state capitol and UC Davis. They went on January 23rd, and they went on tours of both the Capitol and the UC Davis campus. And a really cool touch was they got to meet with former St. Helena Unified School District students that now go to UC Davis, and they got to ask the questions and just talk to them about their experiences in school and how they got there. And then the RLS also had a wellness fair with help from the hospital and Up Valley Health Center, and this took place during their PE classes, and these are a few pictures from that. So within the wellness fair, they talked about 3 different topics. They did healthy snacks, fitness for life, and drug awareness, and these presentations were just to educate the students and help them to promote good habits for a healthy life. And then also a new addition in the RLS is 9 students now make up a student panel for the LCAP steering committee. And then this is the first time that RLS students will be involved in this committee, and they hope that they can bring a new student voice and just a new perspective to the committee. And then finally at the high school, we recently created subcommittees in leadership. So as you know, we have major committees that help plan the school events throughout the year for the whole campus, but we've created new subcommittees that are smaller groups that are made up of 3 or 4 students in order to address specific problems that the students want to work on for the good of the whole campus. So the committees that we've created are sports attendance, campus beautification, homework help, prom, Saint Spirit, and the Green Committee. And so each one has a specific kind of purpose and plan, and they create their own projects. And we've only been doing this for a few weeks, but the students have really gotten excited and are really excited, and they're working on projects already. So that is an example of a few people from the campus beautification subcommittee, and they're picking up trash. We got some new trash picker-uppers that the students are very excited about. And we also had our 3rd student congress meeting this past Thursday, which we talked about subpopulations within our school that may not get as much recognition as they should. So the overall goal of Student Congress this year is to honor diversity, so this is just a part of that. And we learned about students, like groups such as people's parents that didn't maybe graduate high school or college, and how they can get help with their futures and planning for their futures. Students who receive free and reduced lunches, and how that's a really helpful thing for them, and how maybe during summer they might not have those resources, and how important that is for them. And also how many students are in the ELA and ELD programs, and how students can support them just as much as like faculty, administrators, and teachers can. And this is just a way to raise awareness within the student population to groups who might not always get recognized, and how it's our job also to respect and provide support for all the students on our campus. Thank you.
Thank you, Sammy. Oops. So the next presentation is on Give Big, and it's going to be presented by the steering committee of Give Big.
Yes. Us.
Yes.
Hi. I'm Cecilia Raffo, president of the St. Helena Public Schools Foundation and chair of the Give Big steering committee.
And I'm Anna Sciuto. I'm on the steering committee.
Basically, we appreciate having the opportunity to bring this awareness, to have us be here. And we're really excited. This will be our 5th year of Give Big St. Helena. And the last 4 years, we've raised over $900,000 that has gone directly into the classrooms to enrich and enhance the curriculum. And it's also the 5th year that the foundation and the parent groups have collaborated on this big fundraiser. So you'll start seeing signs and banners and posters, and we already had our save the date cards sent out, but a letter will be going out. So, yeah.
Okay, let me jump in.
Yeah.
Because we have to answer the question all the time, why do you need to raise money when our district has so much money? That's something that we're constantly educating people on in the community, even our parents, on this idea. And the best way to see the impact is to actually go in the classrooms. Just this last week, Mrs. Levine's here, we were able to bring cafeteria kids. It's a drama program that's in Napa. Usually these classes or these camps, they can cost quite a bit of money. And we were able with Give Big money to bring this program into the classroom, and all the first graders got it. I think it was 2 days a week. They went and they participated, and at the end, all of the parents of the class were invited to come see it. We just saw them do their thing. It was incredible. They were laughing, they were loving it, they were engaged, they were learning. All of this was happening in front of the parents, and then we got to jump up and participate. It was just awesome. And the woman who was leading it said, I want you to all know that we're able to do this because of Give Big. And we're working really hard on having more moments like that. Another woman, Vanessa, she did the film that you saw last year. She's been really working hard on creating more visuals for Give Big. We're putting stickers on kids that say, ask me about my Give Big experience. We're creating little Give Big posters. They're not only going to go up in stores on Main Street when people give money, but we're also giving them to the classrooms for teachers and kids to hopefully capture more photos and make that connection back. I know at some of the older schools, they're also thinking of ways to even test people in PTGs, like what is Give Big? Tell me the answer. Where do you think, where does the money come from when you say parent group? What does that mean? Because it's all of us working together.
Yeah, Give Big funds a lot, but it gets given in different ways. But it's all one pot. So we're really excited. Unfortunately, we couldn't present tonight, but we have a new website coming out, which we hope will be easier, and we'll track a lot of where the funds are going. But also, Run Big is right after Give Big, and we're really excited about it. We are going to have color again this year, which the kids are ecstatic about. I got to figure out how we're going to get the color here, and I will be talking to you because it's a lot. So we're excited, and please, give big. Tell everyone to give big, because it's the whole community. It's family, it's friends, it's businesses, and it's even the kids. They've done a lot too. So.
And I just wanted to give one more plug for anybody in the community watching, that our public schools are a huge part of what makes our community strong. And this is the time of year that we all come together and we give whatever we can to make sure that our schools stay as vibrant and healthy and as strong and happy as possible. So thank you for giving big.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Board comment? Okay. So next we have the report on the Local Control Accountability Plan, the LCAP monthly update. And this is a written report. Would anyone like to publicly comment on this agenda item? Trustees, do you have any questions on the agenda item?
Actually, I don't have any questions, but I do want to make a comment. I believe that by just looking at the list of the after-school enrichment opportunities that our children get, it's fabulous, and I want to thank everyone in our community for sponsoring them and helping and putting this all together, because it's absolutely wonderful. So thank you, Ms. Ellen. Thank you and all your team for putting this together, and our primary and elementary school principals and teachers. Thank you so much.
So thank you, Jeannie. Although we did say it was a written report, I do want to just shout out to all the class offerings. We have art exploration for children, martial arts, music, Ozobot robotics, Zumba Kids, prehistoric adventures, junior chess club, and Lego robotics. It's going to be at both the primary and the elementary school.
If I may add something, Maria, if I may, I just want to go ahead and compliment the Public School Foundation as well as the PTGs, because they have provided some funding for in-school activities, which they just talked about in reference to. They have 3 things that they're funding: the artist in residence at the primary school, the cafeteria kids at the primary school, and at the elementary school, Arts in Action, for a total for both school sites roughly around 19,000. So thank you to those 2 organizations as well.
Thank you, Ms. Ellen. Thank you very much. Thank you for saying that.
So next, we have the presentation on TK5 programs and services. And I know that there's going to be some people who want to publicly comment on this agenda item after the presentation. We will be able to have that opportunity, okay? And Ms. Tanya Pearson and Ms. Tamara Sanguinetti will be presenting this report.
Thank you. Okay, so just as an overview, this is a truncated version of some of what we discussed, but we will be talking about some of the programs that we currently have at our school and enrichments as well. So in working with the LCAP and various steering committees, we worked last year to really identify some things that we could add enriching experience and to really increase some of the scope of what we were addressing as far as creativity and really extending our learning and making sure that we're becoming quite integrated. One of those vehicles is through the experiences that we have the moniker of STEAM, which would be science, technology, engineering, arts, and math integrated experiences. We've got makerspace activities at the primary school and the elementary school. They happen in the context of our library media specialists within the library day, during some of that outside time of lunch recesses, and also at the elementary school within our classrooms as well. Within the week, there are some makerspace type activities, and that more is looking at the iterative, just the function of engineering and making plans, changing, creating things with your minds. We also, after school, offer some of the science, technology, engineering, math activities, such as Lego robotics, creating some rockets that they did over the summer. That happens during the summer, and then after school in some of our enrichments as well. The last one, I just love to do a shout out to the primary school, is really clever in adding an R to their STEAM to make stream, which now includes reading also as a really integral component to the activities that they're doing in school and after school and enrichment as well.
I wanted to talk a little bit about Spanish language acquisition. As you know, as part of the specials TK5, students receive, they have art, music, and PE, and Spanish is one of the specials. And so all of the students TK5 receive 40 minutes of Spanish per week. We started a pilot this fall to look at ways of increasing Spanish language acquisition. And we started a pilot, and we did the pilot in kinder, third, and fifth grade. And in kindergarten, we have kind of our two parts of our pilot. We first started with 4 days a week with, while our English learners were having ELD, our English-speaking students were having SLD, Spanish language development. And so the second part of the pilot, and so all the kids, we had a ton of kids, so we actually used one of our classroom teachers who speaks Spanish along with Nadia Torres. And we are in our second part of our pilot where each class is getting 2 days a week of Spanish. And in third grade, this additional Spanish is all provided by Nadia Torres, and except with fifth grade. And in third grade, students receive an additional 30 minutes of Spanish instruction during language acquisition time. So, for example, Tanya, you can speak more to that about, you're going to talk about the fairy tale, folktale thing.
Yeah. So so this really dovetails along with the language development that's happening with our English language learners. They're working with some Be Glad training type strategies that they learned through some training called Be Glad. And within the context of that, they really analyze, this is even in English, all students analyze the structure of language within the context of history and narrative fiction, looking at language studies and history studies. And some of the kids dive even deeper into some of the specifics of the language mechanics. So the language learners, they'll look at what they're already learning in class and then delve deeper into some of the more technical parts of language related to the curriculum. And as those language learners are doing that, Ms. Torres is working with the fluent English speakers or the English-only speakers and is using some of those same strategies in Spanish. So using, Ms. Kerr saw some of our color-coded with adverbs and verbs and adjectives. She's doing that in Spanish, or making some of our posters with some of the phrasing, and so they're already familiar with something, and then they're hanging new Spanish language learning into that. They've worked with that through fairy tales at this point, some folk tales, and also some government studies as well. So making those integrated connections. And I'll just go ahead and speak to fifth grade, which is taught by Miss Mariana Holguin, who's our Spanish teacher at the RLS in 6th and 7th grade, and also thankfully this year in fifth grade as well. She comes and does a half an hour a week of extra Spanish with fifth graders who, similar to third grade, some fifth graders are staying behind at that point to work as English language learners with their core classroom teachers, while the rest of the students go and work for additional Spanish support with Ms. Holguin. In her case, it's looking at the Spanish taught through teaching, through proficiency, through storytelling curriculum. So they're listening to stories, they're doing actions, they're making vocabulary come alive, and that is what she does at the middle school. So it's like a way to bridge her getting really familiar with students, getting them a boost, and then knowing what they've already learned a bit, so they'll get a jump start as they come into the fold at RLS next year.
So just to say, this has been an interest in the community, is to have more Spanish in the classroom. So this is, again, this year we're investigating ways in which we can do that. So not in just response to the community, but it's also, I know the board is familiar with the English Language Learner Roadmap, and that has recommendations about second language acquisition as well.
And then briefly, we also have enrichment programs after school. And this year we did something different. We had done longer enrichment sessions, but we decided this year to give more opportunity for different choices and variety. So instead of 2 longer sessions, we have 4 6-week sessions, and students at the primary from 1st and 2nd, and then the 3rd, 4th, 5th graders are able to take things such as mixed martial arts, music, robotics, art. We meet with the Parks and Rec. It's a partnership that we have where we fund, and then they, Amalia and some others at the Parks and Rec, are able to come and find teachers that come in and contract with our students. Students are able to access it for free, which is awesome. And there's a Tuesday through Thursday, 1 or 2 sessions during these times. But we are able to talk to say, what did students have interest in? What are we teaching in the school? What else could we add? What could they do to enhance what we're doing? Has worked well. And there's also the 10 sessions of drama and the art as well. So that's in school as well. And I echo what Ms. Chateau said. I was there as well to watch one of those first grade presentations and got up and was happy to participate too. So happy to see what we can do to add that to our school curriculum in and out of the school day.
Wanted to speak to a little bit about the curriculum. As you know, 4 years ago, we began our Common Core implementation with the adoption of the Go Math curriculum. And we're in our 4th year of that right now, and I think most teachers TK5 are feeling really comfortable with that. We are in our 2nd year of English Language Arts, English Language Development. Benchmark Advance is the name of the curriculum, and we are in our 2nd year of implementation. And I just wanted to say, along the way, teachers get a lot of coaching and training with these programs. What we're looking at is down the road, we're going to be looking at curriculum for NGSS, which is going to happen next year. In fact, we will be identifying a couple of publishers to pilot this year. We will select the publishers to pilot this year. And next year, I believe 2 teachers from the primary and 2 teachers from the elementary school will pilot 2 programs and bring it to staff to ultimately make a recommendation for a curriculum based on NGSS. And then in 2021, we will follow the same process with the new history social science framework, looking at identifying publishers that have met the criteria from the state of California to be in the running for adoption of history social science. We will then pick a couple of those publishers and then pilot those as well. And it's just kind of, as you can see, it's very cyclical. I believe it's every 7 years that we're looking at a content area, and new curriculum from that content area is purchased.
I'll speak one point to that. It's exciting with our math and language arts getting, we've got a really strong footing on that, folding in some of our science. Some of the next standards have a bigger proportion of engineering, creating models, making some of the concepts come alive really tactily for students. And that will be important. I think interesting to be able to integrate our English, math, our science. History has a lot more with civic mindedness and some of like what the current condition is compared to the past, and just like really purposeful, more integrated type pathways that we're going to be taking with our students, and some exciting development with our curriculum development as well. I can speak to this.
This is me. So as Tanya and Tamara were explaining at the very beginning, every year we create the Local Control Accountability Plan, which is the LCAP. And with that, we look at our programs. We look at the lower grade programs. We look at the secondary programs. And when we're creating the LCAP as a community, there are factors that we need to look at via the state. They're called state indicators. And this is the California dashboard. Accountability dashboard. We are evaluated based on how we do within these particular indicators: chronic absenteeism, suspension rate, English language learner progress, a graduation rate, college and career, English language arts, and mathematics. Oops. For the California dashboard, this is what they do. They do color coding. So for each one of those indicators, they have what they call a, I think it's called a baseball card look to it, with a gauge, and blue being exceeding all the way down to red being very low performing. So this is how the state puts each one of those indicators. And this is how we're doing in reference to our school district. When you see the red, you're seeing students, and I've broken this down. I haven't given you the full details of the dashboard because we've had this presentation before, but for tonight I'm just going to show each one of our indicators is broken down into subgroups. Subgroups are students with disabilities, students socioeconomically struggling students, poverty. We also have students that are English language learners, foster youth, homeless. So all of those are subcategories, including white and Hispanic. And red, you can see our student groups that are in those categories. Red and orange, those are areas we're concerned about. Those are the student groups that are in those areas. Yellow are right in the mid range, and then where we want all of our subgroups to be are in the green and the blue range. And just so you can see, SED means students, socioeconomically disadvantaged students. SWD means students with disability. Then you see Hispanic, white. You see EL, which is English learner, Hispanic. And I don't think there's any other little dimensions there that I need to share. And with looking at all of our data, looking at our programs, there's recommendations we make to the board as well as the LCAP development.
Excellent. So some of those, and just looking at both of our programs at both schools, a TK5 program and other elements that we didn't cover currently but have in the hopper that we're recommending for the next year upcoming is to continue creating professional learning communities, to discontinue looping in grades 1, 2, and 4, 5, to implement Common Core curriculum and coaching, continue language development professional learning, revisit the additional Spanish options as Ms. Sanguinetti was mentioning, expand our grade level community building activities, expand cross-grade level mentoring, which would be 5th grade to 3rd grade, 2nd to kindergarten, just working with some of the ways that students work together, and expand social emotional curriculum and services. Any questions?
Is there anyone present who wishes to publicly comment on the agenda item? Please come up and line up if you would like to publicly. And we do have a 3-minute time frame for public comments. Please state your name and your address. And also, if someone has said what you're going to say, if someone has already said it, please say that you concur with the person who spoke before you, and then add something additional. But we don't need to hear repeating of the same phrases over and over. Okay, because there's a lot of people that want to speak, I know.
Branden Farrell, I'm the SHTA president. I also am a teacher, coach, parent in the district, and I want to first say thank you to our principals, TK5 principals Tanya and Tamara, for creating this presentation. You get a little bit of extra access in the roles that I have at school, and I know how much hard work it is to put presentations that are very passionate for people to be very thoughtful about how the presentation works. So I appreciate their time for sure. I also want to thank our incredible teaching staff, TK5. I've had a chance to talk with a lot of them over the past month and a half regarding some of these programs, and you can feel and you witness their passion for teaching, and it's a really comforting for me to come up here and speak on some of their behalf that aren't able to be here, because I do feel like there's an extreme amount of passion that is behind me in this line here. If there's some non-teachers as well, but I want to speak specifically regarding the teachers. I want to finish just by before some of our teachers get a chance to speak as well, just to kind of highlight SHTA's viewpoints on our programs and all of the things that we are able to provide our students that are unavailable to other districts in the surrounding area, state, and nation, to be honest with you. Our teachers are provided a lot of tools and a lot of roadmaps, but they're only as good as the execution of our teachers. Our teachers have the ability to execute the programs we have here, and we have the ability to execute the programs that we will we will use in the future. And I truly believe that the most important resource our kids have are our teachers and in our schools. And I think you'll hear from a lot of their interest levels in some of these programs, but I do feel that I speak for a lot of them, or I speak as the membership president, that our teachers are due put in the work to be the #1 resource we have for our student success. And for that, I'll let the rest of them speak.
Thanks, Brian.
Hi, I'm Jocelyn Ivanoff. I'm a second grade teacher this year at St. Helena Primary. I'm going to be speaking along with Gigi Ronayne, another second grade teacher, and Nicole Landis, a kindergarten teacher. As the education world is shifting, so must we. This year, the leadership team has been attending 2 trainings, which include the Leadership Institute at UC Davis and WestEd ELA/ELD training. At the UC Davis training, the leadership team is working on effective collaborative teams, otherwise known as PLCs, that focus on student success. During the year-long trainings with WestEd, we have learned how to plan our English language arts curriculum and ELD curriculum to better meet the needs of all of our students. The leadership team has begun to share this work with our teaching staff.
Recently, the second grade team had the opportunity to pilot the planning process prior to our winter break in one of our 3-week-long reading units. And what we found as a result of a 5-hour-long process really was exciting. We were able to design lessons that provided a clear roadmap for student achievement and success. With daily learning goals, students had a better understanding of how each day's instruction connected with the culminating task that we created as a grade level team. We noticed that students were more confident, engaged, and they had a better idea of what was expected of them.
So this has motivated us to shift our focus to become single grade Common Core content experts to better serve our students. As teachers, we've had many conversations about how to move forward, utilizing this deeper lesson design that allows for teachers to be more efficient, knowledgeable, and confident. The shift will provide us more time in our daily schedule to address the whole child socially, emotionally, creatively, and academically. We are confident that this shift will help support our newly created St. Helena Primary School mission that states, we want to nurture and inspire all students to reach their full potential. Thank you.
Thank you.
Before I start my 3 minutes, I wonder if I could just approach you guys. I have some information for you. I didn't make a copy for everybody because it wouldn't have been economical. My name is Dagan Yanev. I am a mother. I am an alumni. I am a childhood educator at the first standing school in St. Helena, the Rutherford Co-op, which is also a looping school for nursery school children. I am here as a proponent of looping. I have handed you 25 years of research regarding that. There are 10 articles about looping, both pros and cons, and 2 dissertations. So there's over 400 pages of information for you to read before you make your decision. Sorry, I'm incredibly nervous. I'm not a good public speaker. Our children need relationships with their teachers. I have a child that was on an IEP for many years at the primary school, and we are so lucky. We have a wonderful school district here, and that's not in question. But she couldn't be who she was today if she didn't loop with her 2 teachers, and she wouldn't have been able to graduate off her IEP and be on a 504 and on her way to an international school in 7th grade if it wasn't for looping, because she created a relationship with these teachers without anxiety. She knew her culture. She knew what to expect. And it made her a better child. My 3rd grader is thriving in our district because she had these relationships with her teachers that are everlasting. We don't always remember the methods and the techniques that we learn from our teachers, but we remember our teachers. That's the memories we take in these primary years. The data that we're using to make this decision, the test scores and the tests that they took happened after the fires. It happened after a child's mother was murdered. And if you look at Dr. Bruce Perry, who's an international authority on children in crisis, he states that anxiety and stress are contributing factors to brain trauma and development. It was a bad time for testing, and if we're not going to look beyond that, we're at a disadvantage. I implore you to look at the 11th graders who are some of the first kids that started looping in our district. They're thriving, they're doing very well. We have to look at a larger, broader data. Kids are becoming bored and anxious, and we need to create an environment that surrounds them with a comfortable feeling for all the children. I'm not just here for my child. She's on her way out. I'm here for the kids I'm feeding into this district, for the 4- and 5-year-olds that are going to continue to come here, and I want to feel good about that. So I ask if you can delay your vote on March 10th so that the community can come to you. This is an unfortunate time for this meeting to happen on a 4-day weekend on Valentine's Day. Many people had plans, and we just found out that looping was not going to be continued. So we ask for a stay in that vote so that we can come to you as a community. That's part of our LCAP goals. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Anna Sciuto. I'm here tonight as a mom of Haven and Surrey, and I'm here as an advocate for our public school community and the relationship between the parents and the district and our teachers. I was at the presentation at the elementary school, and when we were presented with the graphs, and I understand how much work and thought goes into it, and it was also very confusing for parents. When we saw the numbers, it was even alarming when we saw the figure about how we're not doing as good at the end. I didn't see it here tonight, but I know all around me people are saying, what does this mean? We don't understand this. And at the end, everybody had heard some talk about, okay, now looping's going away. And that's something that a lot of parents have strong feelings about. And we know each other and trust each other, and we're thinking, wait, why are you taking away something again that we like when we're just pretty close off of the changes at the elementary school with the morning assembly being changed and that being taken away. And as a parent, it feels like these are things that make us special and adds value to our school district. And so I'm just here asking for, if you are going to do these things, like tonight, I've learned so much from the teachers. I really appreciated what they had to say. I wish that that had been a part of the presentation. I think that needs to be a part of the conversation when we're parents are presented with information. It would be really helpful to be able to have the conversation, and from a parent perspective, to feel like our opinions really are valued and heard and then are a part of the process, just so that we all understand where it's coming from. And I feel like in this case, so far, if you were to make the decision just with what's being presented, it wasn't, the case wasn't made well enough in front of parents why looping needed to go, tying it to the data. When we saw the data, it didn't, nobody in the room was saying, okay, this makes sense, now get rid of looping. It wasn't clear. So I hope that that could be considered. Thank you.
Thanks.
Hello all. I am Dr. Eduardo Moreno, and I'm here to give my perspective as to how I've been felt successful in this district, being new for the last 3 years here. So at the end of the day, I just want to make it clear that we all care about the students. You know, being part of this community has been something that I've taken dear. And so I would like to start off with, lately I've heard the term innovation. the way innovation is viewed is that it encapsulates everything that is exciting in any setting. I'll go to shoot for because it means you're different, but more importantly, your ideas are new. Having an experience in other districts myself, I really feel that this district has offered many great things to equip me and my students with tools to be innovative. Examples include virtual reality, which was something new and exciting, and I had a pleasure to present to you all here. There's also funding for STEM projects and more. It's not one particular program that is in place, but all the resources that are easily provided. Next, I would like to lead into teacher efficacy. Teacher efficacy is when a teacher believes in their own ability to guide their students to success. Research has shown that teachers with strong sense of self-efficacy tend to be better planners, more resilient through failure, and more open-minded to change and supportive with students. Being new and being able to teach a single grade has made me a successful teacher within this district and within the content area. Learning a new grade and district with constant curriculum changes is difficult. I cannot imagine myself having a strong efficacy if I had to switch grades and not build a strong foundation on one grade level. I want to be perfect in my craft and provide the best learning experience that is beneficial to all of my students. With strong teacher efficacy leads to strong collective teacher efficacy within my grade level. John Hattie discussed that collective teacher efficacy has the greatest impact on student achievement, teacher-student relationships, home environment, and parental involvement. I feel that this has been true for me working with a team that has been in one single grade level. We have all gotten stronger within our content area. Through great collaboration, we've inspired growth within our students, have felt confident with our ability in teaching the content, and been persistent through challenges and yearly changes. Furthermore, I, as well, have always felt that connections with students is important, not just in the classroom, but in other environments as well. Even though I don't continue on with my students for consecutive years, I've built a great relationship with my and other students and parents as well. I have baseball schedules every spring, and I make the extra effort to see the kids and cheer them on. I even play with them at recess on the week when it's my turn to do yard duty, or even when it's not. All the students from all grade levels are asking me if I can play a game of kickball or basketball. Just recently today, along with Miss Pearson, a student of mine from 2 years ago who is now in 5th grade, came looking for me and gave me a really nice Valentine's gift. It was during my PLC meeting. Finally, by having a change, teachers will have the opportunity to work with all cohorts of students and not have to worry about not ever seeing a group of students. We can eliminate the possible saying of, we never had that group of students. We can have a more universal saying of, I taught all of these students. I feel blessed that I can say that I've had a chance to teach and know all the groups of the students within our school and not miss out on the unique personalities that each group of kids bring every year. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Ashley Wright, but I'm actually speaking for Terrell Buchanan right now, who's a 4-5 looping teacher. She wants you to know that despite the perceived challenges of looping, the experience has made her grow as a teacher emotionally and professionally. She's gained valuable leadership skills, seen and experienced academic content connections, and developed her problem-solving skills. She would not choose to teach any other way. It has not been easy, but when she sees the growth one student can make in 2 years, she knows it is the right program. The community which is built supports and prepares students to face their trials of middle school and high school years. This community of a mini family cannot be built in a year, as it needs time. Each year, she builds on content learned and can see a wider range of knowledge, especially in math and reading. Her differentiation skills get better each year. Looping demands that she innovates, creates, and improves each year, and she cannot stagnate. In conclusion, the experience of looping with 3 classes has required her growth as a professional educator. And then I am a 4-5 looping teacher as well. I've been blessed to be in this district for many, many years, and since the early 90s, this district has given students the opportunity to work with teachers multiple years, whether it be in the MAP program, which I taught in for 14 years, or looping, which has been in play since 2012. Kids have had the experience. These 11th graders right now are the first looping class that we had in St. Helena when we started this new program. I have an article as well that I will pass out that talks about a study that was done. It talks about when asked about traits of a life-changing teacher, very few of the respondents talked about test scores or academics. People overwhelmingly said that the great teachers made their students feel safe and loved, believed in their students, modeled patience, and helped their students reach their full potential. All qualities that remain largely unmeasured. While I know that single grade teachers have that feeling as well, as a looping teacher, I feel that the best thing I can do is build relationships in my class. I'm getting nervous all of a sudden. One of the things that we're measuring this on is testing, and I was just wondering if you know how much testing we're doing at school right now. We spend about 22.5 hours testing our third graders and about 25.5 hours testing our fifth graders. And that is just on the MAP tests that we take 3 times a year, the reading tests that we take 3 times a year, and the CASP test that we take at the end of the year. It's not talking about all the test prep we do. It's not talking about the new LPAC test that the second language learners have to do for probably between 3 and 5 hours this year. That is a lot of testing. That's almost 5 whole school days that kids are tested. It's 5 whole school days. I'm not teaching. I am watching kids take tests on computers. It's 1,350 minutes minimum for third and fourth graders to be taking tests on computers. That could be 30, 45-minute sessions. They could be doing art. They could be doing drama. They could be getting more math. They could be getting more reading. They could be doing other things other than testing. Fifth grade is longer because of the Spanish science test. 1,530 minutes fifth graders minimally spend on tests. That's not talking about math tests that I have to give my kids every 6 weeks that takes 2 or 3 days. It's not talking about all the test prep that I'm asked to do. This is a lot of time where I'm not teaching. And if we're wanting our test scores to improve, let me teach. Don't have me test so much. It's really hard because I know the accountability is really important, but that's a lot of time that our kids are testing and working on computers and not creating anything on computers. They're just looking at the computers and giving back information, not doing anything creative. So that's my spiel. You know, I'm for looping, and I'm also for less testing. Thank you.
Any other public comment?
In case there's any more questions.
Back to the recommendations slide, Erica.
Oh, sorry.
And for discussion with the board members, I'd like to first pull out the recommendation 2 and see if you have any comments on 1 through 8 minus 2 and those recommendations. And we discuss that first, and then we come back to discuss recommendation 2 after we discuss all the others. Okay, either of you?
I'll start with number 5, the revisit additional Spanish. I know that was something that was from last year's ad hoc academic ad hoc committee. So, and that was one of the most popular, I think, ones that parents were looking for at that committee. And so, I actually appreciate the fact that they are getting extra minutes. I just noticed it through my kids. They're getting reading materials in Spanish. My kindergartner, and she's bringing home worksheets that I looked at. I was like, oh, that's in Spanish. Cool. But anyways, I was in the classroom today at the kindergarten, and just the way that, I mean, and volunteering there, and just hearing a lot of the students, you know, work on their Spanish like during class time is pretty awesome. Just because at that age, I feel like they're more receptive to learning it. And then on the flip side with my 5th grader, he's working with his aunt, Miss Holguin. And also too, just with him, he's gotten Spanish homework, and just seeing kind of more, I mean, we speak Spanish at my home, but just his drive to kind of speak it on his own, just because it's pretty natural at that age to speak what's spoken at school. So I feel that he's kind of more enthused about learning Spanish, about reading and writing, which is always like something extra that we're trying to have him do. So I hope that it's something that, I know it's a pilot this year, but I'm hoping that next year it's something that we can offer TK through 5, because I feel like it's going to prepare them for RLS and high school, you know, with the seal of biliteracy and pushing that and just getting more students to kind of be more enthused about whether it's Spanish or another language. But definitely I can see the passion for a second language. And also just, I had a kind of quick question, what your guys' take is, like, because, well, I don't know if students notice at that age, but that they're getting more Spanish, or it's just something different.
Well, I'll speak to 240 kids that are getting extra. I see our 5th graders, we purposely have it right after recess. They rush into the Spanish class to work with Miss Olguin. They're excited about it. I have had 0 students mention this year that, wait, we already have Spanish. Why do we have this extra part of Spanish? Or why is there another teacher teaching me Spanish? I've only been met with kids seeming enthusiastic, and that's what the teachers are noticing as well. So kids being very receptive. Then the challenge, what's the best way to fit it in? Is it integrated? Is it this time of the day, that time of day? So as we're revisiting, we're kind of wondering what's the best way to get the most leverage with that learning. But students and staff have been very receptive.
Great.
I wanted to say, I think what with the pilots that we've done at Kinder, we're trying to figure out exactly what the trajectory is going to look like for Spanish language, because we know we're not going to do immersion because we don't have, you know, we would need to have Spanish speaking teachers at every grade level. So we're trying to figure out what we want the kids, what are the goal posts along the way that we want kids to know in TK, Kinder, you know, through 5, in a way, in a program that's not immersion, it's not bilingual. So we're trying to navigate to kind of figure out what are those points along the way we want kids to know and leave our system TK5.
Also, currently, even just thinking about it, is it anything, never, how to make sure that someone can learn something new in Spanish. That's often, it's not just the discrete language skill, that they're just learning the language. Is there a way to do stuff that can be some more creative projects through Spanish as well, is something that we're going to be looking into.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. And I want to thank the teachers and the parents for coming in and talking with us about this as well. So I actually, as far as 1 through 8, with exception number 2, I absolutely am a proponent for all of that. I mean, there's that, I think that's kind of a no. But as far as the, and as far as additional Spanish options, absolutely. I absolutely want to continue with Spanish options and have continuous improvement on that, as far as just, you know, maybe incrementally kind of doing this, because I know that we just don't have the capacity in our staff to be able to do dual immersion. But I think that, as we all know, having knowledge of a second language, or even just having just being part of learning second languages is only going to help our students, so, and assist our students, regardless of whether they're English speaking or non-English speaking. So I don't have any questions about any of the other ones. I'm very much in an agreement of those changes, the other ones, yes.
And Julio, did you have any reflections on any of the other points, with the exception of 2?
No, I'm good. And actually, eight's a good one too. I like what's happening with that part of it. How you guys are trying to streamline and make it all easier to assess and kind of review mid-year. So
yeah, Julio, I just wanted to say a little bit about number 8, as we've talked to you before about the multi-tiered system of support. that is absolutely academic, social, emotional behavior. And I've talked to you before about the fact that those are equal pillars, and that as we move into, full implementation of multi-tier system of support, we know we need to make sure that those 3 pillars have equal focus, and we know that we need to grow in all of those areas. And so that's something I know that both of our staffs are really excited about, is, putting that social emotional piece into the forefront.
And if I could just add, please, the grade level community building activities. I'm not that. I mean, it could be grade level, it could be cross grade. I mean, however we can have community building activities I'm game for that, absolutely. And we all know the benefit of that. So thank you for including that in there as well.
Certainly, thank you.
Thank you.
And then, as for myself, I also am. I just echo what my colleagues on the board have said. Spanish, I'm so glad that we can fit more Spanish into the school day, because basically acquisition is a function of time for foreign languages, and I know that it's hard to carve out time with all of the obligations that we have with curriculum, but it's wonderful that we can offer Spanish at kindergarten or TK even. It's wonderful. And again, I want to echo what Julio said about the social emotional curriculum and services. Just think that as we see in some of these parent meetings coming up, the importance of social emotional health of our students is paramount, especially in our society today, where we're bombarded with more and more, and we really have to stay on top of it. And I'm glad that we see that as part of our recommendation. Now, if there's nothing else, I would like to turn to a discussion on looping among the 3 of us, and I want to thank everyone for their passionate and informed presentations. I know that this is not it's not an easy subject to discuss for some people. It's something that's very ingrained in our school right now. So I think we have to proceed with a lot of compassion and understanding and being open to all ideas.
All right. Thank you for everyone that presented. There's obviously a lot of pros and cons, and I've kind of did some research and kind of read through my thing and just looked at my experience, not just with how I was in the district here. We didn't have looping, but also looking forward to with my kids. I have a 5th grader who is in the 2nd year of looping, so he's not going to be affected. But I have a 4th grader that would possibly be affected, and then my kindergartner as well. So, so I'm definitely, having some reflections on how I feel about this. And there's obviously a split group, in the community. For me, obviously, it's important it would be important for me to hear more of the teachers, to hear where they're coming from. It sounds like at the primary school there seems to be a consent, or at least with the group that spoke, that they would be open to not having looping. But at the elementary, it seems like it's a little more split. So definitely having those teachers in the conversation before we would be able to decide that would be something that would be important to me. Rather than us just looking at the data and deciding on that. And I'm sure for the community, they would like for us to go through that process as well. So I definitely think it should be something that we, if we can do that, have the teachers, whether they're for it or against, if they feel comfortable doing that, just so that we can kind of get their idea, because they're obviously the ones that are doing all the work with our students and doing all that hard work. And so I'd like to actually hear from them as well, more just to kind of see what their thoughts are about it, about the subject, just because like there is a lot of supporting, obviously some pros and some cons for both sides of it. And like I said, personally for me, I didn't have looping, and so I felt like I had really good teachers here, memorable teachers that impacted me that way. But I also see the flip side with my kids and how the relationship that they have with their teachers. So for me, the other part of it too is just the idea of having in a single year, I was exposed to, or I had a lot of experiences with all my classmates, even though it's a small community. So I was in a different class with a different teacher and different students, and that part of it too, I would like for my kids to be able to not just, I mean, they obviously have a really tight-knit group, but I'd like for them to basically be in a classroom setting with other students. So that part of it for me is important, because I felt like that moving into high school, I knew all of the students, right? And I had experience with them in a classroom setting. And so that part of it for me, I like that part of it. But like I said, the teachers also, we want to hear from the teachers and see what they're, what's going to best help them and be able to teach our students.
So, as Julio said, I know that this is a very passionate conversation that is happening right now, and it's and I went to the parent presentation on Monday, Tuesday, and you could just feel the passion in the room, regardless of if you were. I was there actually just to learn and to hear what people were saying, but you could see the passion on our professional side, and you could also on the parent side. I do want to say that I believe that we need to look at more than just our CAS scores when we're making the decision about this, because I know that as board members we're always advised that we need to look at multiple measures, and so multiple measures is very important to me. I'm not prepared to discuss tonight how I feel about looping either way, because I'm right now kind of in the learning stages. I've been doing a lot of research myself online, and of course I'm very careful in what I'm reading, because this is what we teach our children. But I appreciate all of the information that we receive from you, Dagan. Thank you very much. And Ms. Wright, you were going to, yes, okay, great, thank you. So I'm right now still at the learning stage right now, and I'm not going to comment any more than saying that I think that just being at the elementary school today, going in, we were in each of the classrooms, and each one of the classrooms, the children, the student, they were very engaged regardless. So I feel like no matter how it ends up at the end of the day, we have fabulous teachers, we've got incredible students, our principals are caring and want to do the best thing, and we all want to do the best thing for our students. So it's that's where we're at. That's where we're at right now, where we just, and I think that we all have to believe in each other as far as which direction we're going to go, because I know that we're going to be able to, regardless of how it all works out, we're going to be okay. We're going to be okay because we've got what Mr. Farrell said, it's our teachers are our resources, and they're the best resources for our children.
Thank you.
That's my thought.
So I will comment. I will let my fellow board members know that I did speak with 3 teachers that were proponents of looping yesterday, because they could not be here at the meeting tonight. So I think that what we have is a situation where we are at the beginning of a 4-day weekend. I have a feeling that parents and teachers that would have liked to have speak tonight did not have the chance to do so. We have 2 board members and our superintendent who I know will all watch this, but we have not had the open conversation and deliberation that I believe an information item of this level of passion and importance to our district requires. And although we have no no vote tonight on this. I think that it's reasonable, some of the suggestions made tonight, that we have further discussion with greater parent notification and understanding, because this is a big step for our district, and it is something that people feel really passionate about. And I remember when we made the transition from the 3 system to the current system, it was a very difficult time for our school community, and I don't want to. I want this decision to be made in a way that everyone can feel comfortable that they've felt heard, and I don't think that we have given that opportunity with the fact that, even though I will like to say that we did have a curriculum meeting that discussed this, and there were parents and teachers at the curriculum committee, and then we had 2 parent meetings, one in English and one in Spanish. But I feel that there is, I would like to possibly speak to Mary Lou, if you're in agreement, that we maybe postpone the vote on item 2 of the recommendations.
So that, to clarify, so that we weren't going to have any type of a vote this evening.
No,
possibly extending it to March, but maybe extend it one more
I
month.
I think that maybe we can request that we extend the vote out.
And the discussion.
And the discussion. Yeah. Is everyone in agreement with?
I feel comfortable
okay.
with that. Yes,
okay.
I do.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, because a lot of this is, I would like our other 2 trustees to be able to weigh in on this as well.
I just would like to add something. And first, I want to thank everybody for coming out on Valentine's Day and a 4-day weekend to express your opinions. I just want a point of clarification is that the board does schedule board meetings in December of the previous year for the entire school year. So they're given several options, and they chose the second Thursday of each month, and however that falls, that creates the consistency. So these meetings are scheduled way in advance. So I just want to make sure that the point being that it's clear that this wasn't scheduled, this conversation was not scheduled on purpose on this particular meeting. It's just the way it fell in the sequence of the school year. So I just wanted to point that out, because I know that might come up as a reason people aren't here. So I think having that further discussion in March is appropriate. So thank you.
Okay. And I'd like to give everyone a 5-minute break, and we'll be meeting back again at 7:20.
Has hot links to
Okay, thank you. And then this is also
sit down and get up.
So many knees that my hips are weak, and so if my knee goes, this one goes in.
So this is going to go in to
So
get
I
knee
have to
support.
go, I know, it goes, yeah. So
Yeah.
it's floor time to go in, so I need to sit and push it out. And then like,
Huh.
like, if you get up on one leg, I can't.
Right. Yeah. Well, hopefully you get back there because I've gone it now. Yeah, it's,
I love it, but it's just not.
yeah, right. Yeah. It's going to be a long. So you have to go to regular physical therapy. Like how many hours? Oh, shoot. Where's that at? Yeah, that's enough. That's just like CrossFit, really, at this point. Yeah. So, do you have? Where's that at? So it's not too far. Sure. Absolutely. All right.
All right.
Bye. You too. All right. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, we'll be able.
Sorry. Oh, Maria, how's it going? Good. My first time doing this. You're doing a great job. An hour, yeah. Literally. Like 20 minutes later.
That's awesome. That's the great effect. It's like, you know you really made a difference.
After my office, 20 minutes later, I'm going on 6
he told me, so I couldn't see what you were
Pretty standard practice, right?
There you go.
That was hilarious.
I know, that's what I thought. Seems about right. Oh, shoot. I know. It's some other things that I wanted to talk to him about anyways. So,
Yeah, bring it. Go for it. I didn't specifically invite any kids from faculty. Even though most of them are the ones who are good at it. But I was trying, but that doesn't mean I don't want to go. So I'd love to. I kept looking at her, going, she'd be good. And I was like, oh, she's really trying to be her first. But yeah, bring her. Because she's got a lot of different, but she's a lot of various experiences. You know, she's done a lot of school things, so she would be
Make me so proud.
Okay, no, I'm copying Lisa there. So we're returning to our board meeting after our break. Thank you, everyone. And we now have a presentation on the district-wide Spanish language acquisition program. And I'd like to call on Miss Mary Ellen.
Thank you very much. I feel like we've already covered this topic really well in the previous topic. What I'm going to do tonight is just simply talk about our language acquisition program that we currently have within the district, and I am focusing on the Spanish language acquisition. We have French, but I'm just focusing on Spanish language acquisition. Our goals of the program for our current language is to allow all students the opportunity to receive the seal of biliteracy upon graduation. That's our ultimate goal. By the time a student leaves our school district, they would have had enough Spanish to be able to receive that seal of biliteracy. Number two is to provide an opportunity for exposure to other languages and cultures. Our current program offered in the district, a little hard to see here, but this is Spanish matriculation from TK to 8th grade. So on the very bottom of the slide, you'll see TK to 5. All students receive 40 minutes of Spanish instruction one time per week, all the way through TK to 5. Then you'll get up to 6th grade, and you see what happens is that for one 12-week trimester, they have a class of Spanish. All 6th graders get a class of Spanish. And then as you move up to 7th grade, then we start differentiating between students that are beginning Spanish and students that are advanced Spanish. Just I'd like to make a note that if a student chooses to stay in Spanish all year, they do have the option to do that, but this is the current matriculation we have. But a student can request that with Ms. Cox as well as the Spanish teacher. And then in 8th grade, we actually have 9th grade Spanish in 8th grade, and we also have beginning Spanish. Currently at the RLS, number of students in our Spanish language culture, we have 24, beginning Spanish 10, advanced Spanish 24, Spanish 1, which is the 9th grade Spanish, is 17, and Spanish for our moderate to severe special ed students, we have 3. Again, this is just the numbers for one trimester. When you get to high school, you'll see in 9th grade, we have several paths that happen at the high school level. And I'm thrilled because we have wonderful foreign language teachers all the way through the district. We have Maestra Nadia Torres that teaches TK5. We have Mariana Olguin and Kara Doring that teach 6th through 8th. And then we also have our wonderful teachers at the high school, Michelle Parker, Sylvia Save, thank you. And I'm forgetting Kimberly Hughes. Hurtado, thank you. All of our teachers are fantastic, and we meet twice a year. So at the high school level, we have 9th grade. Students coming in with no Spanish will go into Spanish 1. Students coming in for Spanish 1 from the 8th grade will have TPRS Spanish 1. And if they've been successful at 8th grade, they can go into Spanish 2. There is an assessment at the end to see if they're ready for Spanish 2. Students that are heritage speaker coming in from RLS will be going into Spanish 2. And then on the other side, you'll see heritage speakers. Let's see, Spanish 2. So if they're heritage speaker and they've been taking integrated 1, they'll go into heritage 2. And then heritage as well will go into heritage 3. So it's a complicado system, as you can see, but all students are in the hopes of getting to Spanish 4 honors. Currently in Spanish 1, we have 29, Spanish 2, 34, Heritage 2, 20, Heritage 3, 30, Spanish 3, 53, Honors Spanish 4, 19, AP Spanish 32. These are year-long courses. CLO bioliteracy criteria, I'm not going to read through the whole thing, but I just want you to see that they absolutely need to show competency and have a 2.0 or higher, and they need to show competency on the CAS test in English in 11th grade, and then they need to meet one of the criterion below, which is passing the AP exam with a 3 or better, successful completion of 4 years of high school Spanish or French, with an overall GPA of 3.0, or passing the SAT 2 World Language Exam with a score of 600 or higher. So it's not easy to get the seal of bioliteracy, and yet we have students that do this year after year after year. Currently, so in last year, 2017-18, we had 40 students receive the seal of bioliteracy for a graduating class. Currently for 18-19, we have 60 students on track to receive the seal of bioliteracy, should they meet all the criterion. Next steps, we're reviewing all the elements required to add additional Spanish instructions related to cost benefits, being able to sustain a program over an extended period of time with our master schedule, and the effectiveness. And we hope to enhance Spanish instruction with enrichment programs after school in 1920. Questions?
Is there anyone present who wishes to publicly comment on this agenda item? Board members, any comments?
I had a quick question or clarification. At the RLS, you said they can request Spanish all year long. Is that just for 7th and 8th graders, or because in 6th, I think it's just one trimester? Or?
Corinne, would you like to come on up and speak, please? Sorry. You know this better than I do.
So students that are interested in doing Spanish for the whole year, we let parents know at the beginning. For incoming 6th graders, for example, tell us right away if you think you might be interested, and we'll make sure that your child gets in the Spanish part of the wheel during the first trimester. And then if they decide they want to stay, they just talk to the Spanish teacher, Mrs. Olgain, and myself. And then we usually have just a few kids who choose to do it because it means they give up art. Right. And video, and a lot of kids are not willing to do that.
Does that work if, let's say, for instance, my son takes Spanish the first trimester, And he goes in the second one. It's a whole new batch of students. So is he relearning just the stuff that he did in the first trimester, or
no?
Oh, okay.
Because the sixth grade Spanish curriculum is not differentiated with native speakers and English speakers. It's everyone together in the room. So there's all different things going on in all different levels all the time anyway. So it's pretty easy for her to adjust for whatever speaking level students have. That's how the class is designed. And then in seventh grade, it works the same way.
Okay.
And she differentiates the curriculum so that they can stay if they choose to do that. And then in eighth grade, it's a year-long course.
Okay. Thank you.
You bet.
Anything else? Okay. Moving on, we have the presentation of the St. Helena High School English Language Learner Program. Mr. Ben Cinto.
Happy Valentine's Day. I don't know if anybody said that yet. Just thought I'd throw it out there. All right. This is round 2. I believe I was first up in August, was it? It seems like yesterday. Let me just skip ahead. So tonight what I've done is, I think it's really important, as much as we want to just hear something completely different, I want to bring us back to where we were in August, because we are an institution and change happens slowly sometimes. But I've added some additions to the data piece that I've presented in August. I brought to the light some additional data points, and then what we've done in response to the data. So that's the contents tonight. And I was bummed you guys already saw this. I thought it was going to be a surprise. I felt compelled to put in a picture of my children. Yeah, they're not beating each other in this one. That's good. If you remember, this is the data that I shared in August, but I included some additional information which I think it's important to help build context. Because a lot of times we try and draw these direct lines between data in other things. So I want to make sure I paint an accurate picture of what we're talking about. So there's a little citation down at the bottom where I pulled the research from. It's a report out of Washington, D.C., a federal report, but basically talking about the demographics of EL learners across the country. A couple points of note that you'll see on the third bullet in the top part: 7 of 22 students have been in the U.S. schools, and this is here at the high school, under 5 years, so that's 28% of them. And why that's important is because we know that younger children adapt to new schools more readily, whereas teenagers are actually more what's called transnational, meaning they maintain ties to their homeland, the traditions. They tend to travel back to their homeland more often. That's an important piece as you think about adopting our schooling and our ways of life and those kind of things. It's important to know that at the high school level, them coming here, there's more of a tie to their homeland. And this is actually increasing important for us at the high school, given our student population. Our EL students are Hispanic. That Hispanic students represent the highest percentage of students who, beyond the 3rd and 4th generation, do not speak English very well, meaning they remain EL learners, that they haven't got to an English language proficiency compared to other ethnic groups. I mean, I'm not going to speculate as to why that's the case, but statistically, it is the case. They hold on to their native language longer. Just to point that out. I've also added parent ed level. That's something that, I think I had it in the last presentation, but what I didn't have is that national EL rate, the national non-EL rate, and the national Hispanic EL rate. So it kind of shows you in terms of our parent ed level, we're on par with the national rate. All right. I brought this to light again because what you should feel really good about as a school board is over time, we have a really good reclassification rate. And I don't know if it's on here, but 151 of 152 of our EL or reclassified students have been in the U.S. over 5 years. So the more time we have them in our midst, the better luck we have with getting them to be reclassified. This again, this is additional data that I thought you should know. Who are our EL students? So 11, grade level, how many do we have in each grade level? What were their most recent LPAC scores? As you know, this is the first round of LPAC scores. So that's a new piece of data that we're trying to fold into what we do, making decisions about our students. How did they fare overall? And then the other piece is, you know, we're actively using the MAP test. So, you know, although we don't have, you know, tons and tons, you know, you're only seeing one, I think this is the, the fall test. You know, it's going to be interesting to see how they fare over time looking at growth, but that's how they fared in their first CAS test. So, which is a challenge because we want to make sure that we're seeing growth over time, but we're really working with a population who, from those measures, are currently struggling. Socioeconomic status, that's another piece that I've added in terms of in comparison to the national EL rate. So our EL population, 92% are socioeconomically disadvantaged. That's, you know, far and above the national rate, which again is really important to know because we know that economics, when poverty, exposure to poverty has some negative consequences, especially when you're talking about educational outcomes, and then you compact it with those other factors of being in the U.S. fewer 5 years and some of the other factors that we pointed out before, that there can be a real impact just from that alone. This is how our students are faring academically, and again, this doesn't account for, it didn't include our 2 SDC students who are EL learners. It doesn't account for any program or differences in program in the classes, the level of rigor in classes that they're taking. I thought it important to bring in attendance rate, right? That's one of our dashboard indicators, and you know, you think about missed school. My child had to miss school for Monday and Tuesday this week, and there's a definite impact. And when you look at students who, you know, we have 5 students who are in the band of, you know, missing anywhere from 20 to 10% of their school year. That's a lot of time of missed instruction. And that time in the classroom, there is nothing more important than that time in the classroom. All right, moving on. Oh, no. So I thought, you know, in summary, what's really what I was trying to bring to light in bringing in more data and bringing in more context is that there's great heterogeneity in both EL and non-EL groups. And I think when we try and make these broad comparisons, and all of you have seen the EL achievement gap time and time again, but those comparisons in both groups, both non-EL and EL, there's great differences among those populations that makes those broad comparisons really hard. And I know we've talked about the EL achievement gap, and the hard part is, you know, you're constantly pulling out the top performing cohort time after time after time. You're not pulling them out and not bringing new people in. So we're constantly getting new people coming into the EL cohort, and we're constantly pulling out the top performers of that cohort. It's going to be hard to shut that gap, especially considering all these other factors here. But we're still doing stuff, which is good. As much as we'd like to think that our work is a science, it's really not. You know, I think schooling in general, the old adage, it's better to instruct the young than coerce the old, is kind of at play. But what you see here is we are tinkering. As much as we like to think we have the answer to everything, some of the information that you saw that I've shared with some of my English teachers who are actively working to help address the EL gap and achievement gap and just their daily needs. These are some of the things that we've just started this year. So as Mary knows, we adopted a brand new curriculum for our EL students, and we're talking, there's about 9 students in that designated ELD class. Duolingo program, it's English language, we're using it for English language learning. So we have daily routines to accelerate and increase student acquisition of English and to increase student academic performance across all disciplines. So this is happening in coordination with the EL support class in the morning. Needs of students, supplies, understanding daily bulletin, school routines. So it's kind of like the schooling of school, how to do school. Implemented peer language tutoring program. I wish I would have taken a picture of this, but we're using a few of our Avid classes. So if you're familiar with Avid Tutorial, they're doing tutorial with the ELD students in first period, and all those students who are in first period are also in a 7th period English class together. So we're using our Avid kids to tutor them or to run tutorials in these EL groups, as well as in the second bullet you'll see there to mentor them. So we've met with we've met as a team and met with the counselors to, you know, clarify the graduation pathway for each student given when they came to us and what their ambitions are. and then a standard weekly routine on PowerSchool, including purpose statements and success criteria. And that's just to build a, basic, we want to build those routines so they know what they're walking to every day. So in looking ahead, we're, I don't know if you're familiar with the California Spanish Assessment. So this will measure Spanish competency. And as much as there's another acronym I threw out there for you, dual language learner. This one was new for me because it's a term that's used from birth to age 5. But let me tell you, we have students that come to us with third grade. They've only gone to school up to the 3rd grade, or some have never gone to school at all when they enter our program. So as much as that's a birth to age 5 term, I think it definitely applies to some of the students that come to us. Because they haven't had formal instruction. They might be able to speak, but they're not at all fluent or literate in their native language. So they're learning their own language. So that assessment will give us a baseline of, are they even fluent or literate in their native language? It'll also help us evaluate we can use it to evaluate our Spanish language arts program, and it provides a high school measure, another measure for the state seal of biliteracy, which Mary just talked about. And reclassification criteria, that's just recently changed as well. So that's the threshold at which you can reclassify a student. And I believe we used, I want to say midpoint 3 or something this past year because there wasn't that criteria. So it's been elevated to 4. So that will kind of help. That will actually most likely reduce our ability to reclassify students over time, given that it's a higher threshold, which is fine. We'll just have to, rethink what we do to get students to meet that. But what I'd like to say is tremendous work on the part of teachers to make that happen. And as I showed before, we have had great success reclassifying a bulk of our students that have been a part of our ELD program. One student this past year, 12th grader, was not reclassified. He missed it by 2 points. And the other 2 students, they will never be reclassified because of their intellectual disability. So really proud of what our teachers have accomplished. And that is it.
Is there anyone present who wishes to publicly comment on this agenda item?
You can all line up behind me.
Trustees?
One quick question. Yeah. So as far as your last statement about the reclassification going up to 4, why do you think that is it like California Department of Education that did that classification?
Yeah.
Yes. And what do you think the reason for that was?
What they were trying to do is make it a standard score across the board, because currently before this point, every district could set their own criterion in reference to classification, and one of those criterions was the language assessment, and you could set your scale of where you wanted your students to be. So the state came back and said, no, everybody needs to hit that highest threshold of 4. And so it kind of leveled the playing field across the board for everybody, and I'm okay with that.
Okay. Okay, that makes sense. And then my second question is and then you mentioned about the senior that missed it by just a little bit. Now, do they have one chance a year then to, is it at the end of the year then? Is that when they take or is it kind of the beginning? How does that work?
Now it's going to be the end of the year.
February so the LPAC, there's 4 criteria, and it's the LPAC, which is the language score, it's the CAS score, it's teacher recommendation, and it's parents' approval. Mm-hmm. Those are the 4 things to get reclassified with. So the LPAC happens from February until the end of April, and then the CAS comes in May and June.
Okay. And then if this student then moves on to college, do they also have like a reclassification type of steps, or
no? Not to my knowledge. But I mean, the individual's on track to graduation, and all other things are lining up. But we just didn't get him to meet that.
It's just not
threshold.
the reclassification.
Yeah.
Okay,
but it won't deter him from anything in the future.
Perfect. Thank you.
I'll just comment. Thanks for the presentation on Valentine's. I know you have your wife and kids at home, but like myself. Yeah. But I do want to say I do really appreciate, I know this is like a challenging topic, just being kind of a new board member. I never really, I mean, I went to school with a lot of English language learners. I was never one of those, but now kind of reflecting back just how difficult their journey has been. And I feel bad that I never, like, because I obviously was born here and my English is my primary language, but I just appreciate the effort, obviously, with the teachers, the staff, the administrators, having to put in kind of all this extra effort, and on top of that, still continue to provide that level of excellence for the other students. So I appreciate that. And then my one question was in terms of the, oh, well, obviously you guys are doing a lot of implementing new things. How are you guys going to look at the end of the year to kind of assess like the success of those, besides the reclassification? I mean, because obviously it's impacting them in other ways besides just a reclassification, but is there any kind of ways that you guys will look at this list and see kind of what's been working? Or
yeah, I mean that's the challenge, right? It's like not everything is wholly measurable. It's interesting. So I'll just tell you anecdotally, we had a student who, you know, we just started the mentoring and tutoring program, and this was, you know, again, completely anecdotal, and this won't show up in the data reports, right? A student who semi-disengaged, not really interested. All of a sudden, you have a student who was at some point in his same shoes, start to communicate the same message that every single adult has tried to communicate to this kid throughout his previous 2 years at this school. All of a sudden, some light turned on for him, and it, I mean, it was obviously a peer telling him or trying to help him and encourage him along. So it's really hard to look at. I mean, obviously we're going to continue to look at all the factors that we talked about, but again, I'm always going to go back to the notion there is no direct line. What we're doing is we're taking what we are finding is working for an individual, and this is the whole tinkering piece. We're taking what's working and we're refining what's not working. So the whole curricular piece that we revisited at the start of this year, we had kind of piecemealed. We had some leveled resources and other stuff, but we want to do something a little more robust and better. So that's going to answer that small piece. We do the work we do is complex, and to reduce it to a measure, like you talked about having multiple measures here tonight, is it's a really important thing to do, because a lot of times, you know, institutional change, there's a lot of purposes and procedures involved in that, and you can't deduce it to a score sometimes. So we're, as a school and staff, we are constantly refining our work, but I don't, you know, it's hard to try and capture that in a single report. So we're going to look at all of our measures. We're going to try and you know, reconsider what else we might need to do over time. But that's something that we've done every year, and it's a constant, it's a moving target, I guess I'd say. Yeah. Yeah, and definitely. So I don't know if that's the right answer, but
well, no, it is the right answer, because there is no right. I mean,
yeah, there is no right answer.
But yeah, like that. I think that's a really good idea. The avid tutoring, like you said, it's sometimes having it from a student that's been in those shoes to teach that student. So I think it's empowering for the English language learners and for the avid students.
Oh yeah, they're going gung ho. Again, I wish I could have taken a picture. I was in the library yesterday in preparation for, or the other day for a faculty meeting, and I had our English department chair in front of Avid 11 and Avid 12, and they were dialoguing around the support that they're going to provide these students and running tutorial in those classes. I mean, it was a beautiful thing, and again, you can't capture that in an Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. I just also would like to add, I think that it's wonderful that we're in a district where these students are given a chance, because I know that they would not have a chance in a lot of districts. And I think that, you know, when you have someone coming into high school, a high school age student who is functionally illiterate, that presents a lot of challenges in our educational system. And I think it's really commendable that you found ways to adapt within our small environment to really create the best possible world for these students. I want to thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate that. And again, I would defer complete credit to our teachers. We don't have a newcomer program. We don't have a bunch of sheltered. I was a sheltered teacher when I was when I taught here as well, our teachers have taken these students into all of our classrooms and modified their work to meet their needs. That happens every single day in every single classroom. So the burden really falls on their shoulders, and that's where the most important work is happening. So thank you. Yep.
So next we have Human Resources, 9A, consideration of approval of the Sunshine proposal from SHUSD to SHTA. I'd like to call him Miss Andy Steps.
I'll do it.
Wait. Oh.
I'll do that, yeah. So last month, the governing board will recall we presented the initial proposal from SHUSD to the Teachers Association, SHTA. And within that proposal, the initial proposal called for an opportunity for the public to come review the proposal and provide any input this evening before we ask for consideration for approval, so we can begin discussions around the collective bargaining agreement for the next cycle, which will expire in June of 2019 this year. So tonight we would like to entertain any public comment and seek consideration for approval from the board.
Is there anyone present who wishes to publicly comment on this agenda item? Board members, trustees, any questions? So is there a motion to approve the Sunshine proposal for SHUSD to SHTA as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries. Next, we have consideration of approval of the Sunshine proposal from SHTA to SHUSD.
And I'll do that as well. In reciprocity, the public also has an opportunity to provide input on the proposal from SHTA to SHUSD. So this is an opportunity for the public to comment on the Teachers Association's proposal, and we also ask for the governing board's approval as well.
Is there anyone present who wishes to publicly comment on this agenda item? Do the trustees have any questions about this agenda item?
No.
Is there a motion to approve the Sunshine proposal from SHTA to SHUSD as presented?
I motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries. So then we have the 9C, review initial Sunshine proposal from SHUSD to CSEA number 287 for collective bargaining negotiations. Mr. Chris Heller.
I will do that also. This is our initial proposal outlining the different articles within the CSEA agreement that the district has Sunshine in preparation for negotiations this spring. As we scroll through there's the different articles and the district's intent in providing clarity and direction in terms of our negotiated articles. This is an initial proposal which allows the community to review and provide input at our March board meeting. CSEA will also provide their proposal at that time as well, so we'll have both proposals to potentially approve at that time.
Is there anyone present who wishes to publicly comment on this agenda item? Do the trustees have any questions about this agenda item?
I have no questions.
Move on to the consent agenda. So, is there any public comment on the consent agenda? Board members, do you have any items on the consent agenda that you wish to be removed?
No.
Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries. 11A, board member reports. Jeannie Kerr.
So as I said earlier, I was at the elementary school today. I want to thank Ms. Pearson for your time. Thank you very much, and Mr. Heller, thank you very much for your time as well. It was wonderful being. It was such a treat to be able to go into all the classrooms. So thank you for that. So. It was a great morning. It's just so nice to see all those young children. They're just so energetic, and they're just ready to learn, and they're engaged. And I would go into the classrooms, and they're either in small groups, or they're on the Chromebook, or they're reading, or so everyone is doing something, which is lovely. And it's what we expect. But not having children anymore, I don't think about it as much anymore. So when I see it, it's great. But I would say probably the highlights for me was talking to the young ladies. Several of the classrooms, they have ambassadors for their classrooms, so they'll come up and they'll introduce themselves and kind of say what they're learning and what they're talking about. So that's always a treat to see that. They're just so, these are, some of them are, fourth grade, so what are they, 10 years old, and they're just so mature and just so talkative. I also enjoyed meeting with the new media specialist there. She's fabulous. I feel that we as a district are very, very lucky to have her. I mean, and it seemed like she came to us at the right time in her life, and she came to us the right time in our district's life too. So it was wonderful to meet with her and to see the students at the library. And we also had a lot of nice conversations with some of the teachers. I do want to. I recognize when I was there that, and excuse me for talking kind of behind your back, kind of talking about you while you're, but Ms. Pearson has such a wonderful rapport with all of her teaching staff. It's pretty amazing. I mean, it's just you have so much energy and so much positiveness in you that it's fabulous. And I had the opportunity to ask a lot of questions, and I felt very afterwards. I just felt like there's like so much knowledge that our teachers and our principals have that we don't know about. That when you hear about it, you're like, wow, it's amazing the things that they're doing in the schools. So anyway, I'm going to stop going on about that. So I want to say thank you very much, Ms. Pearson. It was wonderful. Your teaching staff, all of your staff members are fabulous, and I really enjoyed being in your classrooms. So thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, and I saw the assembly. I haven't been to assembly for a while, and it was all about kindness. So, and I know that the primary school is doing that as well. So it's all about being kind. And that's always, you can't beat that one bit.
So next we have the superintendent subcommittee reports and curriculum technology and innovation. Julio, would you like to give that report?
Sure. All right, for the curriculum technology innovation, let's see, we met on February 5th. And we had the primary and elementary school program update. So I won't bore you guys with it was essentially what the presentation was here. So I don't want to re-go all over that, but basically talk about the STEAM, which is obviously something great that they're adding at the primary school and elementary. And then they talked about the STREAM as well with the emphasis in reading. They discussed the same thing, the Spanish pilots, and how they're adding the additional minutes. And let's see. And then from there, they also spoke about the enrichment opportunities that are happening at the district level, which is TK through 5. So that's obviously been a great opportunity for students to be able to attend those. And so I think that's a really good thing that we've been offering to students. And then lastly, we had the discussion about the looping with a lot of the committee members, which included the principals and some teachers. And so that was I think that was one of the first conversations we had, which was led into the parent conversations that they had in the evening. And same thing, just to kind of get a good opportunity to kind of see where everyone was at with that.
And the LCAP steering committee, again, Julio, we have you reporting on that one as well.
The LCAP, okay, that one was, we had the that was January 24th, and so that we had the continuation of the student panels. We had the high schoolers the month before that, so we had, on this one, we had the RLS panel. Again, I was really impressed. The kids, even though they're in middle school, the ones that were selected or that were presenting or speaking to the group were really thoughtful and expressive, and they gave some great insight to their school experience. It was a mix of not just 8th and 7th graders, there was a few 6th graders as well, which also provided some good points moving forward. Just to touch on a couple of the common themes, one of the common themes, obviously, the transition from elementary to middle school. They said that a lot of the 6th graders said that there's obviously a workload increase. There's an emphasis on more homework requirements, and so a lot of and just managing time. So they definitely noticed that difference from 5th to middle school, and so they kind of just wish they, at least what I heard was that they wish there was more of that emphasis on kind of building those work and study habits earlier in school. So that's something that they provided us with. And then as far as reaching success in the class, same thing, a common theme that we're seeing is obviously establishing a relationship with a teacher. And they, especially at that age group, I felt like the students, aside from having the teachers engage them in class, which is obviously very important, they also talked about just having teachers that are kind of emotionally there for them. And so they just talked about just simply even having a teacher check in with them if they were in class or not in class, and kind of just to see what's going on with them. And so just a kind of a sense of caring, just because I think at that age level they need that from their teachers, and obviously our teachers are providing that. So that was something that they talked about in being successful in the class. And then I had to leave at the end of the meeting, so I wasn't really there for the principals sharing, but I know this, I'll make a plug for the subcommittee, the St. Helena Cafe. If you guys haven't RSVP'd for that, it is next Tuesday, so after the long break. And we're just looking for that community input, and it's a great opportunity, and we want to just have a lot of vast array of participants from our community. And so it's just an opportunity to collaborate, brainstorm, and just kind of be sitting to some of those teachers. I get a lot of parents that are sometimes coming to me and telling me, and I'm like, you need to come to this, and you'll have the principal right there, the teacher right there, and we can work together with your concerns. So I think it's a great opportunity for the community members, and I hope everyone is able to attend that. So.
Great. And Jeannie, can you report on St. Helena for All?
Yes, I would love to. So St. Helena Preschool for All, we met on Monday. We meet monthly. And so on Monday we did we're doing a lot of work on putting together a business plan for our past donor, the donor that we just received money from, has asked that we provide a business plan on an annual basis. And so we have actually hired a consultant to help us with that business plan. She's fabulous. Julio and I met with her prior to meeting with our board on Monday. Talk with her, and she's like I said to Julio, she's like a dream come true. She's been involved in everything that is part of Preschool for All. So we're very happy to have her on board with us, and we will be presenting that business plan to our donors on March 27th. 28th. So we're really looking forward to that. And what's nice about this business plan is it's really helping us create a vision for the St. Helena Preschool for All, not for just right now, but for the future. So it's really an exciting time for our group and for our parents of the Preschool for All, and certainly our students. So they're not excited about it, but I'm sure they're happy to be going to school. And I do want to say that the St. Helena Preschool for All was nominated for the Nonprofit of the Year through the St. Helena Chamber of Commerce. So we're very pleased about that. It was unexpected, and it was a surprise. So the event is on March 1st from 6 to 8 p.m. at Maryvale Vineyards. The tickets are $45 a piece. There'll be music, there'll be food and drinks, there'll be some entertainment as well, and also just the other honorees will be recognized for that as well. There's the Business of the Year, Citizens of the Year, Employee of the Year, and then the Nonprofit of the Year. So please, if you would like a ticket, we would love to see you there. You can just contact the St. Helena Chamber of Commerce to purchase your ticket. Thank you.
Thank you. And then I will report on the Wellness Committee. Both Lisa Pelosi and I were attending, but she's not here tonight. So I do think that the Wellness Committee does have the best perks because we get to taste something from Andrea's food service department every meeting that we have, and it was just lovely last time as well. We did have a really lovely report on the wellness fair at RLS. That's a very successful program. It kind of redesigns itself every year, but basically it's keeping with the same concept of different stations that the students go to. The report was that the one station was on drugs, and it was mostly about vaping, is what I understood. And so that was a very big success. There was talk among the committee that we'd all like to see something like that at the high school, but it's just still in the recommendation type of phase. Wouldn't this be wonderful if we could do it at the high school as well? And that's kind of what the hope is at some point. We aim for that to happen, although logistically I understand it's not so easy. We also presented on, we got presentations on the Student Mental Health Conference that Laura Jorgensen went to, and there was the vaping presentation here at the high school for parents. We also started brainstorming some ideas. We went over our wellness plan. It's basically the same plan that we've been working on for several years now, and we're constantly updating. We did decide that our 2019-2020 goals are going to be primarily to address vaping. That kind of seemed to be our overriding concern, along with mental health and social emotional well-being, specifically social emotional triggers that may lead to vaping, and the desire, whether it's stress or peer pressure, all these things that come together. So the two, I think, go hand in hand, but there is a real concern that vaping is becoming a big issue at the high school, and it's something that we have to get ahead of. And even though we've had these we've had a county presentation, we've had a school presentation, we're talking about it a lot, but it's almost something that's in our society. It's growing at such a wildfire rate that we really have to address it in the next year. And we're addressing it now as we speak. In other ways, we're looking into different detection devices, seeing how we can we can educate students more about the dangers of it, but we're going to have to make a real priority as a wellness committee to address it. And next we have the SHTA report to the board. Mr. Branden Farrell.
Just a few things. We had our fellowship meeting on the 24th, maybe, of January, and we introduced the concept of us having our CLMI. I think that's the acronym for our leadership conference that Dr. Wilson, myself, Christine Avina, and Mr. Conwell go to, and bringing that back to our own leadership boards and our district administration and our school board to work together at the beginning of the year next year. We're just in the planning stages of that, but we do have a tentative date on August the 9th. I want to address a little bit of the vaping from a perspective of our teachers, and I've gotten several comments about how proud they are of our two principals at the high school and our principal at the middle school about the measures that they're taking to prevent and to hopefully educate the kids about the vaping epidemic that's happening all over the country, and it's a difficult thing. So I just want to play kudos to the three of you. I'm not sure how much this has all gotten into the elementary school, and hopefully my second grader has no idea what that is, but maybe Tamara has a beat on it too. You're okay? Awesome. I also want to kind of reiterate what one of the teachers, Ashley, came up and said. I don't know how much it has to do with what specific program we use or anything, but altogether our teachers are becoming overly concerned a little bit about the time crunch that it takes for us to complete our curriculums, and some of the demands of the testing and the preparation to test, and some of the things that we create as well with the field trips and all the things that prevent us from having time. My new motto in my class is that I only have 50 minutes with you on a specific day. And, on a block day we have 88, and then we don't see them for a day. But it's a very limited amount of time. And as we prepare for next year, and as we look ahead into the future, we need to have the consideration of our teachers in minds in terms of how much time we actually get to stand with our kids, not necessarily in front anymore because it's much more interactive, but creating dynamic lessons to help them learn about what they're supposed to learn. So, thank you.
And there is no CSEA report for this month. On to the superintendent's report, Mr. Chris Heller.
Great, thank you. Tonight on the personnel register, in the consent agenda, you will have noticed that we have accepted classified retirements, and we would like to acknowledge and celebrate those employees, congratulate them as well, and we will do that a little bit further in our retirement celebration for all employees at our end of the year celebration in May in Rotary Park. So congratulations to them. Trustee Holguin pointed out the St. Helena Cafe stole a little bit of the thunder, but I do want to reiterate that as on Tuesday, February 19th at the Native Sons Hall, we are hosting an opportunity for the community to come out and provide input, as he had mentioned, as we develop and refine our local control accountability plan for the 1920 school year. We're hoping to get about 100 participants. We do have a grab-and-go dinner at 5:30, and the activity portion of the evening will be from 6 to 8. So we hope that we can meet our goals as far as participation and encourage people to sign up on the district website if they're interested on that Sign Up Now link, right? All right. Mamma Mia will be performed on 6 dates, March 8th, 9th, 15th, 16th at 7 o'clock. and matinee performances on the 10th and 11th at 2 p.m. in the Performing Arts Center. Tickets are available at sthelena.drama.com, and we encourage our community to come out and support our talented young people. Run Big was also given a plug earlier tonight, and that will be held on March 29th, which is prior to the commencement of our spring break and on our minimum day that day. Again, we'd like to thank all of our volunteers for their work in the community, making this event possible, and know that our students actually really look forward to this event and have a great time participating. So we are looking forward to that. I also want to point out to the community and the board that the district had sent out notification to families of the middle and high school students requesting cell phone information from our students. Our communications platform, Blackboard, can provide direct connection for teachers to students in a safe, manageable platform. We also received information that another platform, Remind, that was popular, was going to begin charging for text services. So we are encouraging many of our teachers to move from that platform to the district-approved platform of Blackboard. And that way all records of communications are stored and able for us to access, and it's a way to communicate with our students in a safe, manageable format. So that was the reason for the inquiry into student cell phone numbers. And finally, we have a 4-day holiday coming up on this weekend, celebrating President's Day. So we will have no school on Friday, tomorrow, and Monday. And I wish everybody a safe President's Weekend and stay dry. Thank you.
So next we have the written reports from all of our 4 principals. I'd like to thank you for all of that. And if you wish to spend the remaining portion of your Valentine's evening with your family, you're welcome to leave if you do not wish to attend the business portion of the meeting. If you would like to attend the business portion of the meeting, you are welcome to stay.
Normally I would stay, but tonight I think I would catch you. All right. Thank you. Can't wait. Hopefully you're what?
So, Business and Operations 12A is the 2019-2020 draft budget assumptions, a review for the board, and call on Miss Andy Stubbs.
Thank you. And this first item is presented as information only. This is the first review for the board, I believe, of our budget assumptions for 2019-20. The Budget Committee has reviewed them a couple of times and received them recently in preparation for our upcoming Budget Committee meeting later this month. And as always, I like to highlight the areas that have changes from the last time. And so if you cursor through, I think the most notable change is probably on page 4, if we can go to page 4. And so with the governor's proposed budget for 2019-20, he's proposing to buy down part of the STRS increase. So we're very happy about this news for both 19-20 and 2021. So STRS and PERS has been going up over the past few years in order to address their long-term liability. And so this will provide us with a little bit of relief. So we were happy to see that. And then a little bit farther down on the page, we have some language there that describes our 2 retirement incentives that we're offering this year. And then I believe those would be the biggest highlights for the board to review. And these will come back next month with probably some new changes. This item here reflects the 2 board-approved 6-hour classified paraeducator positions that are built into the budget for next year. And so this item is presented for information this evening.
Is there anyone present who wishes to publicly comment on this agenda item? Trustees, do you have any questions on this agenda item? On to 12B, review of the 2018 Gatsby 75 actuarial valuation report prepared by Dempsey, Flinger and Associates. I am laughing. I am laughing because I will not say it's a great Gatsby, but I was told to. I was told by someone to say that. Okay, I did it. I did it, and I didn't. It was a horrible delivery, so that's why I should never have done it. So please, Miss Andy Stubbs.
Thank you. Well, actually, it's probably the most exciting that this report has ever been. So the actuarial valuation occurs every 2 years. And the Government Accounting Standards Board requires districts to have certain procedures and regulations related to the reporting of post-employment benefits. And so in our district, we pay the single level of medical benefits for our retirees up until they reached the age of Medicare eligibility, which currently is 65. And so one small point, these governing standards were GASB 45, but now it's been replaced with GASB 75, which our actuarials have been telling us has been a little bit daunting in this first year of implementation, so it took a while to get the report. And so this table here provides a summary of our last actuarial valuation in 2016 compared with the one that we just had. And so, for example, the present value of all benefits expected to be paid by the district for current and future retirees is $6.3 million in 2018 compared with $7.2 million in 2016. And so you can review the actuarial report on page 6 to see some of the differences that go into that. What we do is we provide our actuaries with a lot of payroll information and statistics about our employees, and then they prepare this required report for us every 2 years. And then at the very bottom there, you can see our annual out-of-pocket expenses for post-employment benefits. Districts have a couple of ways of funding OPEB. You can go with the pay-as-you-go method, which we do, and then also you can establish a reserve in Fund 20 as a set-aside in case it's ever needed to ensure that you're able to meet this obligation. Districts can also set up an irrevocable trust account, which our board approved back in August, and we have set one up with CalPERS, their CERPT program. We're currently contributing a board-approved amount of $50,000 a year into that outside investment instrument, and what that does is it yields a much higher interest rate than retaining those funds in the county treasury. So it's 6 to 7% return, just depending, compared with a little over 1% in the county treasury. And so we can then use those interest proceeds to actually pay for the cost of OPEB over the years once we build up the principal. And so the next steps are going to be evaluating the actuarial report in detail with our actuaries and determining what might be a different amount that would be more appropriate to contribute. In reading their review, it may be better to contribute approximately $100,000 a year and to build up that principal quickly based on all the statistics and math that go into that analysis. So I'll be reviewing that with them, and then if it's appropriate, I'll bring a recommendation to the board at a later date. Any questions? This item also is presented as information only.
Is there anyone present who wishes to publicly comment on this agenda item? Trustees, any questions?
Thank you.
And next we have 12C, consideration of approval of the public disclosure of cost savings certification for the classified non-management early retirement incentive program.
Thank you. And this item is presented for consideration of review and consideration of approval. And we have an executive summary and then the cost savings analysis. And so the board had approved a 2-year retirement incentive for our classified non-management employees, opening a window for those retirements between April 1st and July 31st, 2019. And so in order for CalPERS to approve the program, we have to be able to demonstrate savings. And so my cost analysis verified that we would be able to demonstrate savings of approximately $87,000 over 5 years. And that's being very conservative in estimating placement of new hires at a step 4, which tends to be our historical average. And then it also assumes that new employees are receiving full family medical, which is not always the case with a new hire, but we're budgeting as conservatively as we can. And so now you see that we have the cost estimates for up to 5 retirees, while we received 4 retirement letters, which were on the consent agenda. We have another that is pending, and should that one move forward as well, then the board will have reviewed and approved the cost for the full 5, which we need to do to get the program going. If there are any changes, because the employees have 20 work days after the time that they submit their letter, if there are any retractions of those letters or any other changes, then I'll bring this cost analysis back to the board on consent for ratification, so that you'll be able to see the revised calculations. And so I would recommend that the board consider approval of the cost savings.
Is there anyone present who wishes to publicly comment on this agenda item? Trustees, any questions? Okay. Is there a motion to approve the public disclosure as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries. So next we have 12D, public hearing and approval of the developer fee justification study and resolution 1819 in the matter of increasing school facility fees as authorized by Government Code Section 65995B3. I'm calling on Miss Andy Stubbs.
Thank you. The district currently collects developer fees for residential and commercial construction, and we can use those for new construction and for renovation of existing facilities. And so the state allocation board every 2 years increases the amount that we can charge for developer fees. But in order to do that, the board has to approve a justification study and then also a resolution and have a public hearing. And so the justification study is presented for your review, and the as well as the resolution. And so should the board pass both of those, then we would be raising our rates from $3.48 per square foot for residential to $3.79 per square foot for residential, and then from 56 cents for commercial per square foot to 61 cents. It's a little bit of a mouthful. And so I'd recommend that the board approve the developer fee justification study and the resolution.
So I would like to now open the public hearing. The public hearing for developer fees justification study resolution 1819 is now open at 8:29 p.m. We will remain open. And I can read the rest. During this public hearing, comments should be limited to the developer fee justification study and resolution 1819, increase in school facility fees. It is our goal to hear from all who wish to be heard. We invite members of the audience to address the Board of Trustees on developer fee justification studies and resolution 1819 only. And we will remain open for 1 minute, and longer if anyone decides to comment. So the public hearing is now closed at 8:30 p.m. Do the trustees have any questions about this agenda item? Is there a motion to approve the developer fee justification to study and adopt Resolution 1819, increase in school facility fees, as presented?
I motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, we have a request to approve a contract with Helmer & Sons in the amount of $38,492 for the demolition work related to the SHHS press box project. Ms. Andy Stubbs.
Thank you. And normally the board approves contracts over $25,000 before work commences, but in this case, work has been completed. And what happened in this case was we had a challenge with the timing, and so the press box demolition work couldn't begin until after the football season was over. And then we learned from the manufacturer that they wanted to set the footings by January 7th, and then also we determined that DSA was requiring us to do an ADA accessible pathway to the press box, which was requiring us to have to do some additional scopes of work involving demolishing and removing the existing containers and then installing a pad to move the containers in order to get out of the way of the footprint for the ADA pathway. We had to add those additional scopes, and Greystone West, who has been helping us with some of this contracted work, went out to bid for the work and received some bids on December 28th, and he went ahead and told them to proceed on the work because they had to get it all done by January 7th. So it was that kind of challenge with a facility project over a school break. And so consequently, even though we always want to follow board policy 3312 on contracts and have the board approve a contract over $25,000 before work commences, in this case, the work has been completed. Moving forward, I'm going to be bringing a recommendation to the board policy committee that would allow us to put contracts over $25,000 on consent if they're associated with public works activities like this, because we may have a board-approved facility project during the summer or over winter break, and sometimes just the timeline and the necessity to get certain things done makes it difficult to align everything with a regular board meeting or even calling for a special board meeting. And so with that, I would request that the board consider approval of this contract with Helmer & Sons in the amount of $38,492.
Is there anyone present who wishes to publicly comment on this agenda item? Trustees, do you have any questions?
No, I don't.
Is there a motion to approve the contract with Helmer & Sons for the amount of $38,492 as presented?
I'll make a motion to approve a contract with Helmer & Sons in the amount of $38,492.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries. So 13A, Facilities and Technology Update, January 2019. I would like to remind the board that this is a written report. Is there anyone present who wishes to publicly comment on this agenda item? Trustees, do you have any questions about this agenda item?
I don't have any questions, but my comment is I appreciate when you send these out to us periodically through email, just to kind of keep us updated, as well as our staff members. So thank you for doing that, Andy.
Thank you. We're doing them quarterly now.
Okay, great. Yeah,
thank you for that. I have no questions.
Mm-hmm.
No questions.
Facilities 13B. Consideration of approval to file a notice of completion for Murray Building, Inc. for the SHES kitchen cafeteria renovation project. Ms. Andy Stubbs.
Thank you. I was very pleased to be able to add this to the board agenda for approval.
Yeah. Is there anyone present who wishes to publicly comment on this agenda item? Trustees, do you have any questions?
No.
Is there a motion to approve the notice of completion for Murray Building, Inc. for the SHES cafeteria renovation project as presented?
I motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Consideration of approval to file a notice of completion for Marina Mechanical for this SHPS Central Plant HVAC System Modernization project. Ms. Sandy Stubbs.
I would recommend that the board consider approval of this notice of completion as well for the primary school HVAC project.
Is there anyone present who wishes to publicly comment on this agenda item? Trustees, do you have any questions?
No questions.
Is there a motion to approve the filing of notice of completion for Marina Mechanical for the SHPS Central Plant HVAC System Modernization project as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. And finally, board-related items, 14A. Request to accept gifts, donations, or earmarked funds. I'd like to call on Julio to read the list of donations tonight.
All right. The Hall Winery donated $173 for the purchase of fleece fabric for the Cozy Blanket Project at St. Lena Elementary School. Students made blankets for patients at Martin O'Neill Cancer Center at St. Lena. The St. Lena Hospital donated $1,100 of water bottles for the hydration station at the RLS Wellness Fair for the students. Thank you for those donations.
Is there anyone present who wishes to publicly comment on this agenda item? Trustees, do you have any questions about the agenda item? No. Is there a motion to accept the gifts, donations, and earmarked funds as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries. 15A, future agenda items. We have student presentation on March 14th, 2019. We have the superintendent evaluation mid-year review, Citizens Oversight Committee report, CIF student injury report, ELD update for the RLS, LCAP progress goals, second interim report, budget assumptions, MTSS avid job descriptions, board policy updates, and a resolution for volunteer appreciation, and a resolution regarding AR 5117.1 for change. Do I have any additional agenda items?
I would just say that if we talked about the looping, if it's going to go back on for this, or was that something that?
I think that we could request that we continue the discussion specifically on looping without a, maybe we don't have to have the other recommendations, but just a single discussion on looping.
Yes, we can. We'll make that agenda item. Thank you.
Okay. And if there's no other future agenda items, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries.